Hello, my dear students. Welcome back to Prudence Coaching English class. As you know, in this particular channel, you'll get ICSE, CVSE, and WBBSE solution of all subjects. Students, today we came up with the textbook New Oxford Modern English, and as you know, the authors of this particular book is David Hosbach, Nicholas Hosbach, and Clary Hosbach, and this particular course book is for the grade 4 students. So let's start with the unit 3 of this particular book, that is Anansi and 5. Students, before starting with the story, let us know something about Anansi and 5 here. Here, Anansi and this 5 is two main characters of this story. So these are the two main characters of the story. Who is Anansi? Here, Anansi is a creature like something which can take a shape of a spider. Sometimes it will look like a man, or you will find that it has taken a shape of both man and spider. So this Anansi is a kind of trickster here. And this 5, this is also a character's name. As you have your own name, here the name of the witch is 5. Yes, interesting. And this is the main thing which we will learn, and this 5 is a witch, as I discussed. Now let us start with the story Anansi and 5. Once upon a time, long ago, there lived a creature called Anansi. Sometimes Anansi was a spider, sometimes he was a man, and other times he was a strange mix of the two. Anansi was trickster, and he was having difficult time. He had no money to buy food for his family. As he walked around the village early one morning, he had a scroll on his face and a growl in his stomach. So what you can see in this particular paragraph, this story is about a creature whose name is Anansi. And as I said, Anansi is a trickster, as it is mentioned here. And it was a spider, sometimes it was a man, as I said. Sometimes it takes a shape of spider, sometimes it transformed into a man. And sometimes you will find it is a mix of two, means spider and a man. Both the thing it will be transforming its body into a man and a spider. So, and what we get to know about Anansi here is he was going through a difficult time. That means his time was not good now. Why not good? Because he had no money with him, and as he had no money with him, so he could not buy anything for his family. He could not buy food for his family. And one day when he was walking early morning in a village, that time he had a scroll in his face, means he was not happy. An angry expression can be seen in his face. So scroll means any angry expression, he is not happy. And a growl, here growls means whenever you feel hungry, you will see that some sounds comes out from your stomach, and this sound is growl here. Passing by a neighbor's house, Anansi heard something that pleased him. So as Anansi was passing by a neighbor's house, do you know what is the meaning of neighbor? Means the people who stay beside your house, they are your neighbor. So here Anansi was passing by a neighbor's house. There Anansi heard something, means he got some sound or noise. He got to hear something, and that pleased him. That means he was happy after hearing something. Next, the neighbor was an old witch. She was an angry and unpleasant witch who became furious whenever anyone said her name. She hated her name All through her life, people had laughed or looked surprised when they heard what her name was. Can you guess what her name was? So, from this particular paragraph, we get to know that while passing by a neighbor house, Anansi was happy. And who was this neighbor? This neighbor was an old witch, and this witch was an angry means she was always an angry person or angry witch, and unpleasant means she was not happy at all, means whatever she have, with that she was not happy. And who became furious means angry whenever someone said her name. Okay, students, say me, do you get angry whenever anyone call you by your name? I don't think so. But this witch was always angry whenever she heard that someone is taking her name or calling her by her name. Can you guess what her name was? You are asked to guess her name. Can you guess it? Okay. Next, it was 5. Can you imagine that someone's name is 5? So, for this reason only, people got surprised whenever they knew what the name of which was, and also laughed at a time after hearing that the witch name is 5. Anansi peeked through a gap in which fence. She was stirring her big cooking pot and muttering and mumbling a spell. The smoke and sparks were blue and green, so Anansi knew she was cooking up some big magic. Suddenly, she snatched up her staff and started to pound it on the ground, and she walked around the pot. Anansi listened carefully to what she said. I curse anyone who says the word 5 to disappear forever. So, what happens in this particular paragraph? In this particular paragraph, we get to know that Anansi peeked through the gap or in the witch fence. That means here fence means what? Let us know first. Fence means, as you can see, the outside boundary which is being given so that no one can enter without any permission. That is the fence, or the boundary which is given to just means restrict someone to get into a particular area is fence. And here picked means what? As you know, if we want to look at something but we will not allow anyone to notice that I am just looking at that particular thing, so what I will do, I will just hide myself and look at that particular thing. So here also Anansi, who is hiding himself, and he is looking at what this particular witch is doing. So here Anansi is peeking, okay, looking by hiding himself so that others cannot notice him. On the other hand, we get to know about a witch whose name is 5, and she is stirring means moving a rod in her big cooking pot and muttering and mumbling a spell. Here spell means something word is being repeated over and over to get something fulfilled. For example, if you have seen any priest, you will find he or she will repeat some prayer again and again to praise God or get some wish fulfilled. Similarly, if you have seen any bad person who is doing black magic, they will also repeat some words again and again, and they will try to do something bad. Similarly, here the witch is muttering and mumbling a spell, and while doing this, some smokes and sparks are coming out. Those are blue and green in color. Anansi knew that this particular witch is cooking some big magic, means she is doing something out of which a magic will be created. Suddenly what happened, this particular witch took out her staff and she just started pounding it on the ground, and she walked around the pot, means she just moved around this big pot in round manner. Anansi was very serious, and this Anansi listened very carefully what is being said by this particular witch. Here the witch is saying that I curse anyone who says the word 5 to disappear forever. So here the witch is saying that if someone says the word 5, then he or she will get disappeared, means he or she will not be visible anymore. This is a curse. So this was the thing which was said by this witch. So here the magic was this, that if someone says 5 or if someone pronounce the word 5, then he or she is going to be disappeared, means he or she will be not visible. Next, Anansi rubbed his hands together and jumped around on his 8 hairy legs. This could make me some money or get some food on the table for my family. He smiled widely and his sharp teeth sparkled. So here what you get to know, by hearing this magic, Anansi was very happy, and as it was in the form of spider, so spider has 8 hairy legs. So this Anansi also had 8 hairy legs. So he was very happy to know this particular magic. So in joy he just jumped around on his 8 hairy legs, and he said that yes, by doing this or by applying this magic, I can get some money or food for my family. He smiled widely and his sharp teeth sparkled, means he was very happy, so his teeth were also sparkling. Anansi rushed to the path that ran along the river bank between the village and marketplace. Soon everyone who was going to the market would walk past. They would be on their way to buy the delicious yams, beets, pulses, and grains that would be piled high in the market. So here we get to know that this particular Anansi rushed, means he was very fast. He just ran and he just waited along the river bank in a path where from the people or some animals used to go from the village towards the marketplace, means this path were starting from the village and going to the marketplace. In between there were a river bank, and in that particular path or way Anansi was waiting. Soon everyone was going to market would pass, means whenever someone will go from village towards the market, as Anansi was in between the place where the people or someone who is going to market from village will follow that particular path, so they will meet Anansi on way, and he or she need to cross Anansi to go from the village towards the market. And he was very sure that whoever will go to the market, they will go to buy delicious yams, beets, pulses, and grains, and those will be piled high in the market. Students, do you know the meaning of the word piled? Piled means to keep something one above the other so that it increases in height. For example, as you can see in the picture. Next, Anansi set to work and piled up 5 mounds of earth near the path. They looked just like he had planted 5 yams. Then he sat down and waited. So after this, Anansi started to work. What work does Anansi do? Anansi made 5 mounds of earth. Earth means mud. So he has just piled the mud like this, and it looks like 5 yams were planted. And he just sat beside and waited for someone. Next, first to come by was little Mrs. Rabbit. She carried a basket full of sweet potato pieces and walked slowly because it was heavy. So as you can see, first one was a little Mrs. Rabbit, wife of Rabbit, and he carried a basket which was full of sweet potatoes. As you can see in his basket, you can see many sweet potatoes. And as sweet potatoes or the basket was heavy enough to carry, therefore the rabbit was moving slowly. Next, Anansi stepped forward and smiled. That looked like a big weight. Please rest a while and help me. I don't know to count, so I cannot tell how many yams I have planted. So what had happened in this particular paragraph? In this particular paragraph, we find that when the Mrs. Rabbit or wife of Rabbit arrived, that time Anansi went towards the rabbit and with a smiling face he said that your basket which you are carrying seems to be heavy. You do one thing, you just wait here and rest for a while. And also said that Anansi was unable to count the number of yams planted by him, means the mound of earth which was done or piled by this Anansi seems like yams or the planted yams. Therefore he was asking this rabbit to help him in counting the number of yams planted by him as he was unable to count. Mrs. Rabbit was kind, so she stopped. She put down her basket and hopped along the row, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In a flash and a bang, Mrs. Rabbit disappeared. Anansi gobbled down the whole basket of sweet potato in seconds. He licked his lips and sat down again to wait. So, from this particular paragraph, we get to know that Mrs. Rabbit was kind. Therefore, when Anansi asked her for help, she did not hesitate. She put down her basket of yams and she went for help. She hopped along the row, as you can see, the row which was created by Anansi, which were 5 mounds of earth, but it was said by Anansi to this rabbit or Mrs. Rabbit that these were the planted yams which was planted by Anansi. The rabbit did not know what is the actual thing, so for helping, she just hopped and went towards the row and started counting like this by hopping. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whenever she said 5, at that particular time a flash means a light came and a bang, a sound was made. A bang sound was made and immediately Mrs. Rabbit disappeared, means no more we can see Mrs. Rabbit at that particular place. She was disappeared. And immediately what Anansi do? Anansi gobbled, means ate all these things by putting it in the mouth and he just ate all the things or the sweet potatoes which the rabbit was carrying in his basket in seconds. Means within seconds he just completed the whole basket. After that, as Anansi found the sweet potatoes very tasty after eating, therefore he licked his lips and sat down again to wait. Again he waited for someone else. He just gobbled all those sweet potato and he just waited for anyone else to come. Next, not long after, he heard little footsteps on the path and looked up. It was Mr. Duck. He walked along with his chest held high and his feet made a slip slap sound on the path. So here we get to know that after few minutes or few time, what happened? Mr. Duck arrived. So this is a male character and previous one or the rabbit was a female character. So here Mr. Duck arrived. When Anansi looked up after hearing the footsteps of Duck, which made a slip slap sound, he found that Mr. Duck was coming with his chest held high. As you know, duck is very proud type of creature. So what does they do? They just put their chest held high and making a slip slap sound. As you know, the feet of ducks are like this. So while walking, a slip slap sound is being made. Next, he had a bag with his lunch in it by his side. So this duck this time was carrying a bag with him, and inside bag it was his lunch. Mr. Duck stopped when he saw Anansi and asked him how he was. Anansi put on a glum expression. Mr. Duck, I have no idea how to count my yam plants. Can you help me, please? So here, Duck was passing by the Anansi when Duck asked that how was Anansi? How was going on? That time, Anansi showed a glum expression or sad expression. He was not happy and said, Mr. Duck, I have no idea how to count my yam plants. So here also he is just saying wrong things and saying that this is the yam trees which was planted by Anansi. Anansi now also saying false statement and asking for help from Duck. Mr. Duck bobbed his head and puffed out his chest even further. Well, Anansi, he said, it is quite simple. Start with 1, then it's 2, 3, 4 and 5. Mr. Duck disappeared instantly. Anansi ate up the lunch. So what happened? This duck nodded his head, puffed out or brought out his chest more, means it was already having its chest out. Now his chest was further out because he felt that this is very simple task and easily the duck can count. So duck was very eager to help. She just went towards the row of muds, knowing that this was not the muds but those were the yam trees. So the duck went there and said, it is very simple task, so you can easily count it like this: 1, then it's 2, then it's 3, 4 and 5. So whenever the duck said 5, that time what happened? Due to the magic or the curse of that particular witch, as duck said 5, at that particular time immediately the duck disappeared. And after the duck disappeared, Anansi was very happy and he just ate all the lunch. about Anansi's family. Did he think about them? Did he save any food for them? No, he did not. He ate everything without a thought about any of them. So here Anansi was not at all bothered about his family. Here the author is asking you, or the writer is asking you, whether you have a thought of Anansi's family or not. Means while listening this story or reading this story, have you thought about the Anansi's family? Did you think that what the Anansi is doing, he did not think about his family or what? Yes, then the author is answering for you. He is saying, no, he did not. Means he didn't think about his family. Means he was not at all bothered about his own family. He was bothered about himself only. So, without thinking about his family, everything which he has collected by applying his trick, he ate all those things alone. Next to come along on her way to the market to buy some tasty treats was Miss Frog. She did not stop, and when Anansi called after her, "Hey, please help me count my plants." So here we find that the frog or Miss Frog, Miss Frog means a frog which is girl and not married till now. So here we come to know about Miss Frog, who was going to the market to buy some tasty treats, and she was just moving towards the market when Anansi called her by saying, "Please help me to count my plants." But Miss Frog did not wait or stop. She laughed. "No way, count them by yourself." She called over her shoulder and she hopped away. So here Frog said, "No, I am not going to help you," with a smiling face. And she went hopping away, means she just went away without helping Anansi. So we find Miss Frog, who did not help Anansi after Anansi asked her for help. Next, it did not bother Anansi too much, because he knew there would be plenty more chances for him to try his trick out. He imagined what delicious foods he would find. He did not imagine taking any to his hungry children. He was going to eat as much as he could fit in his stomach and then come back and try the trick again on the another day. So from this particular paragraph, it is clear to us that when the frog went away, or Miss Frog went away without helping Anansi, Anansi was not at all bothered. That let it be. A single frog did not help me. So what? So he was not bothered. He was thinking like this: a plenty of more chances will come for me. Means more chances I will get to apply this trick out on those animals who are going to come. So why should I worry about a single frog who did not help me? And he started imagining, means thinking about the delicious food which he will find by applying this trick on other animals. He did not even think about the hungry children of his who were at home. He did not thought that he is going to take some foods for the hungry children. He just thought that he will eat as much as he could fit in his stomach, and he will go back to home. Again he will come back on the next day or another day and try this trick again on some other animals. So here we find that Anansi is a greedy creature. As I have already said, that he is too much greedy. means he is not thinking about his own family also. A scurrying sound pulled Anansi out of his daydream. It was Mrs. Rue. On her tiny back, she had a huge load of freshly made peas that she was hoping to sell. The load was 3 times her size, and her face was red from the effort she was making. So, as you can see, next creature is a little shrew or Mrs. Shrew here. So here we get to know while Mrs. Shrew was moving by making a scurrying sound. Scurrying means what? As shrew or the rat-like creature was moving hurriedly, means very fast, and as the legs are very small, so she could take only few steps, means small steps, short steps. So a sound was being made by moving hurriedly and taking short steps. This particular movement made a sound, and this sound is to be said as scurrying sound here. So as she was moving and a scurrying sound was being produced, by hearing that particular sound, Anansi got up from the daydream. Daydream means what? An imagination kind of thing. As he was not sleeping, so he cannot get a real dream. So as he was just thinking about those things while he was awake, so therefore it is said to be daydream. And Anansi noticed the tiny creature or Mrs. Rue, and he saw that this Mrs. Rue was carrying a huge load of freshly made peas, and we get to know that Mrs. Rue was planning or hoping, thinking that she will sell those peas in the market. As the load was 3 times his size, means it was more than the size of the shrew. Therefore, Mrs. Shrew was very tired due to the effort she was making, and her face was red in color. Next, oh Lady Shrew, how nice to see you. Sit a while and rest. I need your help to count my plants, and you can share your wisdom with me. Anansi grinned and showed all his sharp teeth. He was trying hard to be charming because he really wanted to eat all the peas. So here we get to know, after seeing Mrs. Rue, Anansi said, oh Mrs. Rue, you just come here and wait and take rest for a while, and help me to count the trees which I have planted, and share your wisdom. Whatever you know, you just share with me because I cannot count. Anansi grinned and he just showed all his teeth so that he can put up a charming face, means happy face, before Lady Shrew or Mrs. Shrew, and he really wanted to eat all the peas which Mrs. Shrew was carrying. Mrs. Shrew was not a fool. She could see Anansi's eyes glisten as he looked at the peas. Well, Anansi, you are kind. I am tired. She put down her load and said, how can I help? So here Mrs. Rue is not a fool. She is clever enough. She has already noticed that Anansi's eyes glisten as Anansi looked at the peas which Mrs. Rue was carrying with her. And she said, well Anansi, you are kind. Here Shrew is saying, Anansi, you are kind. And Shrew is also mentioning that she is tired. She put down her load. She put down all the loads which she was carrying and said or asked, how can she help Anansi? Anansi said, I can't count. He lied. Can you count my yum's mound for me? So here Anansi is saying a false statement once again. So Anansi is saying that Anansi can't count, and she is asking Shrew to help to count the amounts for Anansi. As you know, these are not amounts, these are earth mounds, only the muds. And Mrs. Rue smiled by hearing this. She walked to the nearest mound and stood on it. So here Mrs. Rue went to the nearest mound which was near him, and near that particular shrew, that is Mrs. Shrew, and she just stood on that particular mound of earth, and she pointed to the mound that was furthest away from her. So she is pointing this one and saying 1, next 2, next 3, next 4, and this one means this one, she said clearly. So here we get to know that after Mrs. Ryu put on a smile on her face, she just went to the nearest mound which was near to her. She went there and stood on that particular mound, as you can see in the picture, and she just pointed the mound which was the furthest one and said, this is number 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this one is 4. And this one, after pointing the mound on which she was standing, she just said that this one. She did not pronounce the word 5. Next, Anansi frowned. Do it again. Say all the numbers, he said. So here Anansi is angry, a little bit angry, and he is saying that do it again means count it once again. Say all the numbers, he said. So here Anansi is saying that count all the numbers once again and say all the numbers. Next, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this one that I am sitting on. Mrs. Ryu spoke slowly and clearly. So again Mrs. Ryu is saying 1, 2, 3, 4, and this one on which I am sitting. She spoke very slowly and clearly. A flash of anger passed over Anansi's face. Say them properly. He was finding it difficult to keep a smile on his face. So here we can see that Anansi was more anger. He was not able to put on a smiling face on his face. Now he is saying, come on, say them properly, you count them properly, say all the numbers clearly. Again Mrs. Ryu smiled sweetly and counted slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this one here. She pointed the mound beneath her feet. So here Shrew again smiled sweetly and slowly she counted 1, 2, 3, 4, and this one here, and she just pointed the mound on which she was standing, or the mound which was beneath her feet. She just pointed that particular mound and said, and this one. This time also Mrs. Ryu did not pronounce the word 5. Oh, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, shouted Anansi. Instantly, in a big burst of sparks, he disappeared. Mrs. Ryu picked up her load and set off to the market. She would sell these peas and buy mouth-watering delicacies for her family. So what happened here? As you can see, as Anansi was very angry and he said, say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So he pronounced the word 5. So immediately a big burst of sparks light came up and Anansi disappeared, means vanished, due to the curse of the witch. As the witch 5 has said that whoever will say the word 5, he is going to disappear. Similarly, here we find that Anansi disappeared. After that, what Mrs. Ryu did? Mrs. Ryu picked up the load which she brought, that is the peas, basket of peas. She just took it and went to the market, thinking that after selling those, she will bring or buy mouth-watering delicacies for her family. So here we find that Sri was thinking about his family. So Sri was not only kind but she was clever also, as we found here. And delicacies means what? Small, tasty or rare food. Rare food means which are not found easily in the market or somewhere. So, my dear students, the moral of this particular story is that greed will bring you trouble. That means here, as we have seen, Anansi, who was greedy, he was thinking about himself only, and after getting some foods, he was not at all happy. He was wanting more and more, so he was greedy creature, and for that purpose what happened, finally he was disappeared, or he was in trouble. Now let us know about this story. There are lots of stories about Anansi. Anansi is an African folktale character. So this character is African folktale character. He is also important character of West African and Caribbean folklore. He often takes the shape of a spider and is considered to be the source of all stories. The moral of the story is that greed will bring you trouble. So here, moral of the story, as I have discussed, that it is, if you are greedy, then it will bring you trouble. Let us go through the words to know. First is charming, which means very pleasant or attractive. Delicacies means small, tasty or rare foods. Furious means very angry. Glum means sad. Scroll means an angry expression. Scoring means moving hurriedly with quick short steps. And lastly, trickster means a mischievous character. So my dear students, with this we come to the end of this particular video. If you find the content of this video helpful, then like, share, subscribe this channel. Also click on the bell icon to get regular update from this particular channel. And students, if you want to directly communicate with our expert faculties, then you must join our Telegram channel and Facebook page. Thank you students, have a nice day and keep learning with fun.